have any? We can go 2 more or 1 more. I can't see any hands up. Okay, so we will turn back to you. Maybe first we will hear from the Director General if you have any comments, and we'll also give you, Commissioner John Bosco, some time to also respond to any of these questions or any other thing you think you forgot to mention earlier. So please let's see if Mr. Anantasi Nabuhere, the DG of Justice, Reconciliation, Law, Order sector within the next year.
Can you hear me?
Yes, please.
Hello?
Yes, we can.
You hear me now?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Thank you very much. Due to background noises, I don't know whether I have exactly understood all questions, but as the first question is of concern, I hope having understood that the question was asking whether the project, the Sycamore Tree project, was covering only the restorative justice, was only on the restorative justice. Is that?
It was asking, it was saying that its own understanding is how that the Sycamore Tree project is just the same thing as restorative justice. So perhaps you may need to speak to us the relationship between the Sycamore Tree and restorative justice. Is this more than restorative justice, or is it incorporated, or is it the same?
People talk of restorative justice as a concept. We should not narrow its scope. Sometimes people are lost by thinking of or being led by a simple word, justice, and think that when we talk of restorative justice, we talk of a system that is used in providing or running after justice. No. Restorative justice is a global spirit. It is a serious understanding. It may not only be applied into courts, into investigation, prosecution, or courts, as well as correctional service, but it is a spirit and a principles that can be applied within our family, within our schools, within...
With the permission of my assistant, I want to make some few observations that affects the flow of the program. Now, as the training directorate, it behoves on us as a duty to point things straight where they are not going correctly. Now, it has been observed that our movements in and out of the hall is getting incessant.
2019 speaks specifically in terms of the role of correctional officers. So I want you to note this, that yes, there is this separation of the work in terms of non-custodial and custodial, but there are still some connectivities. So for example, you remember that in terms of parole, somebody has been in custody, and then if he gets taken off through the parole board, a person will go to the community. So who would then do the initial assessment of the person who is inside custody? Will it not be the welfare officer? Are you understanding me? Now, I will also let you know that even in terms of those, remember, even in terms of restorative justice, he said it can happen at the police stage, which is about diversion. It can happen at the court stage. It can happen when the person has been sentenced to custody. It can happen even after the person is going out. So remember that even some of the people at the court stage, some of them may still be in your custody. Those who have been sentenced are in your custody. Those who are going to go out, before they go out, they are still in your custody. Are we together? So in some of the states, what they are doing now is that they are either doing one or two things. One, they have a licensed officer, a non-custodial officer who is attached to a custodial center. Whereas in some, you will still use welfare officers in the custodial center to be able to identify them and connect with the DC in charge of non-custodial or the controller, as the case may be, in terms of what needs to be done in the community. So I just want us to bear in mind, and one of the things I learned is that at the moment, they see a role whereby even sometimes somebody who has been in the custodial can also move to the non-custodial. At the moment, everybody we see currently deployed to the non-custodial mission. We are coming from the custodial service. There have not been any new recruits. Please, ACG, correct me if I'm wrong. There have not been any new recruits from outside. It's people from within the system who have been from the custodial asset that have been deployed to the non-custodial. So again, this is not a loss. You are picking some information that will be useful while you are in custody, and those while dealing with people in custody, and those who you will also be dealing with before they go out. And I'm very much aware that part of the arrangement here is that from the things you are learning from these 2 days, you will now begin to see what and what can you do to facilitate some of these things even while you are still in custody. So you have a lot of work before you, but I am very much persuaded that you are equal to. I wasn't the one that concluded the last. They said they were equal to the class. So can you clap for yourself? Why you go? You know what? When the clap is instructed and the coordination is collected, but you have not obeyed the trigger of the person who is conducting the work, you know they will make the mistake. So we are going to obey the order now. I am not a civilian now, but we are going to obey. Permission from the ACG, sir. 1, 2, go. Another one. Appreciating yourself. We must also learn to appreciate you. So I think it's been a very nice session. Can we clap for ourselves? Let us clap for the ACG and the controller that is there with us and the executive director. Please clap for them. Throw it to you. Throw it to them. Another one. Give them the last one. Okay, we're going to go to the next session, but please can you all stand?
That was why I had to show that picture. We'll be flying over because if we are to take the course, we will take days to understand it. But we will do an helicopter view. So I will run from A to Z of the program, the impact, and so far, what we have done in Nigeria. Can I go on? Yes. So, tighten your seatbelt. I'm wondering why it's a bit slow. Okay, I have to point it there. Has it changed there? All right, so we're still talking about the Act 10G, and we'll be talking about what this particular statement, initiating behavioral modification in inmates through the provision of medical, psychological, spiritual, and counseling services for all offenders, including what? The violent extremism. Something came to mind, and I want you to look at that. We all understand medical, we all understand spiritual, and we all understand counseling. Yes, psychological. It talks about what? Your mental and your emotional state of mind. Now, we are getting to know the concept of mental health. I'm an advocate of mental health. And find out that a lot of the people that go through our facilities actually have mental health issues that we don't know about. Some do and some don't. But this is not telling us that we have to take special attention to their mental and their emotional needs. And something fascinating came up. We talked about the total man. So the act is actually telling you that you need to take care of the total man, because we know that man is actually a spirit that has a soul and lives in a jacket. That jacket is what we call the body. So when you are looking at this particular bill or act, it's saying that we need to take care of the total man. Next slide. So, do we have a program that aligns with this vision, if I may use it, to ensure that we have a behavioral change? About the offender, I was talking about the community. Take it or leave it. When there is a crime, there are three parties: the offender, the victim, and that location. It could be physical, it could be online, whatever it is. There must have been people around. It could be in the office, it could be on the market, it could be on the road. That's what we're talking about, the community. So we're saying that in Sycamore Tree Project, taking the concept of restorative justice, the victim have to be healed, because they are also going through trauma. They are hurt. They've got to be healed. And we are saying for the offender, yes, we will do the criminal justice, but then they have to find a way of what? Repairing the harm they have done. And of course, in terms of the community, next slide, I don't know, is it me controlling or you controlling now? And of course, the community, they want to ensure that the community is healed, is restored. Such events will not happen again. And so, the concept of restorative justice also can be seen from a Bible story. It is like you're talking about the story of Mary Cecil, or you're talking about the story of William Wilberforce. Can we learn from them? And so the story that we picked is about the story of a tax collector. In our days now, we talk about a staff of the Internal Revenue. Because I know you pay your tax, either you like it or not. Because they would have deducted it, isn't it? So it's about a tax collector who met a personality under a tree, which is sycamore tree. In Rwanda, they call it the Umuvu tree in their own local dialect. I know if I do a study, we will have some trees around. It's a fig tree. And of course, it was located in a location, in a geographical location. Next slide. Next slide. No. And then, of course, the certificates. And of course, we have session movie. We'll be able to watch one. It's about 3 minutes, 4 minutes by the time I'm done. And then we go with the board. Next slide. And then, of course, name tags. The name tag is just to show your name. So I don't say you. I should call your name. What's your name, sir?
Love the
Love. Love day. So, you know, you feel better when I say you stand up or love day stand up. Which one do you feel better?
When you mention my name.
Fantastic.
Yes.
Because there are people, we need to respect them. So we let them have their name tags so that when we want to call them, You call them by their names. All right, so this talking piece, what does it do? It's an authority that you can talk. If you don't have this, you cannot talk. And this is passed from one hand to another hand. I'll get to that, but we make them to sit in circles. So it passes, you pass it by your left, clockwise. And what are we trying to do? When you pass it back, you notice where your heart is. You are passing it clockwise. You don't pass it like this. You pass it like this. All these things are symbolic. And of course, I'll get to this. You can see the image of the sycamore tree is here. I will get to that. And then, of course, it brings about discipline. If you don't have this talking piece, you should not talk. So what you are supposed to be doing at that time is what? Listen to the person who is talking and use that to articulate your own thoughts. So it brings discipline to them. Because quite a lot of them, you need to work on their mind. So all these tools are making them to begin to observe, to analyze, and then take strategic actions. All right, so next slide. Next slide, I've talked about that. Next slide. You have the slide, so I'll probably rush through some. So the circle, this is critical. Critical. Remember in those days, and we still do it somehow, in your family, when you want to have family meeting. How do you sit? Who can tell me, how do you sit? Huh? Seniority, no, I'm not talking of when you're in the uniform environment. Family. It might not be a perfect circle, but you sit somewhere naturally. How did they design that? Because why? You want to feel that, hey, it might be a difficult conversation, but because we are sitting together, it's a circle. It has no end. It has no. So we make them to sit in a circle. Maximum is 10 inmates per circle, with then the facilitator and the co-facilitator. All right, so let's move on. The flip charts, I will explain that later. Move on, I will explain that later. Next slide. Okay, so I want to go to testimonies, but I've not witnessed a man murdering my father. I have been carrying this hatred and hurt for more than 25 years. For the first time after STP, I can truly say I have forgiven the man that murdered my father, having gone through STP. Because why? STP makes you to look within yourself. Nobody will teach you. You are the one to come up with your thought pattern to say, okay, I think it's a better way of going about things. All right, so next slide, we'll just rush through this. You'll have the slide, so next slide. Next slide. Okay, let's take this from the victim. It's been a life-changing opportunity, having been a victim of crime. So this is not from the inmate, this is not from the offender. I needed a lot of answers to a lot of questions. I am better now. I have more understanding and I'm a more forgiving person now, and those qualities are increasing in my life all the time. Why? Because somewhere along the line, I will explain, we bring the victims to come and talk. Not necessarily the victims of the people who are incarcerated. You know, but when we talk about the proper restorative justice system, you bring the victims, you bring the offenders and the community. But what we are saying is that we are only using that concept into Sycamore Tree Project. Next slide. I know you want me that. So where are the testimonies from Nigeria? The ones is serving his jail sentence for a crime he did not commit. And he said he had vowed on himself that after he would go back into the society and commit that crime. because he knows he's coming back. That is his thought pattern. But when he came through the program, he realized that that is not the best thought pattern. Someone said, the program has taught me how to behave in the society. Because the program will make you think within yourself how to become a good citizen. Because you have changed the way you think. Your values have changed. Your mindset has changed. Someone said, wow, I know the effect of crime now and I will ensure my children do not follow this. What was his story? He's a graduate. He runs the Uber, he and his friend. And in the evening, when they've done their business, in the evening, just to chill, any girl that comes their way in the evening when it's dark, what do? They sexually assault the lady. And they take her money and they throw her out. And then, of course, love ran out. They were caught. So me and his friend attended the STP. Then it suddenly popped up. I'm in front of you. I hope you are thinking. Then it popped up that, how did I get into this, that I'm doing this? Then he now realized that his wife was carrying a baby. He is not sure if the baby is a girl or a boy. And then he just realized when he was analyzing and observing the things he has done, that assuming this baby is a girl, will I want someone to do this? All right, the last testimony. I did not want to forgive my uncle. Don't worry, just take. Don't worry. I did not want to forgive my uncle and those who caused me harm. I remember her very well. I'll mention her name. When we were running the course, what is her story? Her father sexually abused her. She ran from the home to her uncle. The uncle continued. She ran to Lagos from the east. She got to the east somehow. She was able to get a relative, which she called her aunt. Somehow the aunt does this network marketing scheme, and she was going about her business to distribute the product. And she was in the wrong place at the wrong time. They were doing a raid, and that was how she was trapped. She called the auntie was nowhere to. The auntie didn't come on time. So she spent more than a year there. Because we had to start looking, for good the auntie and all that. So for her, it was this world is cruel. And I'm not ready to forgive because they have done this to me. So when we got to the point of forgiveness, she actually walked out of the class. She said, I'm not ready. And then normally, the next week when we come, we do a little bit of recap. Immediately we said, we are going to recap forgiveness. She said, is that what we are going to do today? And she walked out of the class. And about this program, we do not enforce. We don't say you must sit down. No, if you don't want to do it, it's fine. But you know what? All the things she has had made an impact. So during the graduation, she was going, we are in 30 countries. Next slide. Next slide, where you have the figure, the picture of the man. Now, telling my story, we would have told them that in the course of the session, we would bring in a victim. Not their own victim, any victim. We will have prepared the victim ahead. And the victim will just come and share his own story or our own story of what happened. And how he or she went through the exercise. How he or she went through the hurt. What happened? Who was affected? How did he heal? Now, you can see Brother Mike there. Now, this man has given us approval. That's why we are using this picture. He has given us approval. He has said, look, I don't mind. Share my story. Because he has found out that it is healing for people. He was coming back from home and from wherever he dropped He dropped somebody who came to visit him in the neighborhood. And the boy struck. Before you know what was happening, they had shot. And it affected his eyesight. He became blind. This happened 30 years ago, so you can imagine. He's over 50. So thank God he knows the terrain because it was in this area. So it was dark. So the people were passing, this drunk man. And he kept shouting, no, I live in Solomon, please. Anyway, God sent help. That was how he was rescued from a private hospital to a general hospital. And then, of course, it had affected his eyesight. So they had to fly him to India. So he had felt that when he gets to India, they would correct his eyesight. He said when the doctor had analyzed and done everything, and the doctor told him, I'm sorry, you've lost your eyesight. He said it peaked. Associates, his friends, when he tells the story, while he's saying the story, do you know what is happening to them? They are also looking at what their own victim is going through. And then they'll now begin to ask questions. So how do you feel? One question they will always ask, all the victims. So when you see that person, how would you feel? They will always ask that question. Because they are now saying that, okay, this is my victim. If I see him or her, how will the person feel? So this opens up a discussion. You know, we've never asked them what their story is. So this now makes the next slide to now say, okay, I want to share my own story. We don't force. So it might be just two people that want to share, it's fine. It might be one. And if only for them want to share, they share. No other. So we go to section 5. What does this say? This is where forgiveness is taught. To help participants consider the meaning and benefits of forgive and being forgiven. Next slide. So you can see how we are going the journey. We have not told them this is what you are supposed to do, but we are just opening up their minds to new ways of thought. So we tell them what forgiveness is. That forgiveness is not no matter. This no. We tell them that yes, a crime was done, you were caught. But what? It is a decision. Because you have the other hand. You are giving. You are the superior person in this partnership. Because you are the one forgiven. So we tell them that it is a decision to let go of resentment and revenge towards people who have harmed you. Even if they apologize or they don't apologize, you have won. Why? Next slide. And then we tell them the story of Nelson Mandela, who said, as I walked out of the door towards the gate that will lead to my freedom, I hope everybody knows Nelson Mandela says, I knew if I didn't leave my bitterness and hatred behind, I'll still be in prison. I'll have an opportunity to go to this prison, Robben Island prison. It's about this girl. It was on that day of graduation, because we tell you to invite your parents, invite your family, anybody that you want to impress, that you are a change behavior, invite them. And then we bring traditional rulers, we bring community leaders, you know, we just bring, so that they will know exactly what we are doing. So the man had actually beaten her off, our father. I have been telling you this. So now that they're prison, you know, I don't know how many years. It was on the day of graduation the father came. So it was full of tears. Full of tears. So, gentlemen, I hope you can talk about STP. Talk about the effects, the impact it has done in the lives of people. But that's the picture.
I have another problem because it is not an coordinated class. I know the one. Now the last Buki has really done a great justice to that topic. I have a feeling that we have felt it, we can imagine it. Yes, she told us she was going to give us a helicopter view. But you could feel it, you could feel the drama. She got you all taxing through the processes, doing some of the exercises. But there's some few things she went through with us. It is clear that this is a structured program. It is clear that it is a program that gradually, in some way, begin to affect how the inmates, the offenders, begin to conceive or perceive what they did, why they did it, how what they did can influence others or affected others, and what they need to do to redress or at least to amend to some extent.